I did want to show you real quick, and I promise you for those who don't do accounting, we are not going to go through everything at once and bore you. But there are some great go-to reports. If you wanted to know more details about specific things, like not just income and expense numbers, maybe you wanted to have your asset number or your fund or your liability, and you wanted to see what has been going on in that, a ledger by accounts report is great. You can choose just one account, but what's nice about this report is you can choose both the balance sheet accounts and income and expense accounts. Whereas income reports, you only can choose income numbers or expense numbers and so on. So it's nice to be able to choose. In fund activity reports, you can only choose income and expense numbers. So this is one of those reports that allows you to choose all. I'm not going to click all because it is a very detailed list, and you'll see here in just a second. So if I just we'll do like a couple of the assets here, and then we'll do something like that and just show you what goes on with it. So on any reports windows that you have, no matter the area of the program, you have some buttons there at the top. Refresh, what that does is that pulls the report in this window right here. It doesn't open up anything else, and this is membership, accounting, it doesn't matter. This is the way the report windows work. So refresh opens it in here. You can hit this little expand at the top, and it kind of fills in that whole window. It just keeps you from having another window open. Screen gives you another window. It's nice if you wanted to print a couple, kind of look at some things, or you're just like me and always seem to tend to hit screen. It opens up another window. So for example, if I hit refresh, it's going to keep it right here. I can't see all of it, so if I hit expand, it fills that whole space up. This was one of those little things. I didn't really realize what it did until after I started working here and was like, where was this all my life? It actually wasn't here all my life, only Windows 10 or CDM 10, but still, I was doing CDM 10 before working here. Where screen prints it as another window. Just like that, okay? And you can print from it and so on. The other thing I wanted to show you are these two buttons here. And for I'll shrink it down so we can do it. Well, we'll try it. If you have Excel installed on your computer, you'll see the button up there. If you're on a Mac and you have Numbers installed on your computer, or like me, both Numbers and Excel, you just push this button and it opens it up. If you don't see that and you are on a PC and you're like, I know I have Excel, I use it, just reach out to support. Most of the time, I think you have to download Office from the App Store because there's the whole thing. Windows likes to have fun with us and mess with our heads, and especially when they update. But just let us know. We're happy to help you with that. But when you click Excel, notice the report popped right up into Excel. You do a custom listing and export, and you just want to see it in Excel, even in membership. If you see that Excel or Numbers button up there, just push that. You no longer have to save the CSV file and then go to Excel, open that file up, and get it laying out in there. You don't have to do the copy and paste and put it in there. You can just click this button, and it'll put that into Excel or Numbers or whatever you choose, and you can manipulate it as needed. Where that's helpful are custom listing reports, because sometimes we have this nice long list of fields, especially if we're dealing with treasurer's reports, or you're getting a blended report of a bunch of different information for your overseer and things like that. You can get it to fit on the page, but if he wants you to do certain things, or they like Excel for it, just hit that button. It's going to pop it right in there. The other thing that you have, of course, is clipboard. That takes it to your clipboard and you can paste it wherever. The text file saves it as a text file, and PDF saves it as a PDF. Page, another one of those. I guess I should have just tried it once. Here I have multiple pages, If I was on a specific page and I clicked page, it would print me just that page. Just like when you go to hit print, you know how you can say like current page? That's what that is. It's like current page for printing. And then, of course, you have your normal print, and it prints. By default, it goes to your default printer, and you can change and adjust as needed. So that particular section at the top is across the board, no matter what area of the program that you're in as far as reports go. Okay? Some, and you'll see if you were in like a custom listing and export, you will have the export button up there so that you can choose if you want it, you know, it can just actually create these CSV file and things like that that you need. But the Ledger by Accounts report, if you notice, it gives me, here's my asset. Here is all the ledger entries, line items, where that asset was used and whether it was debited or credited. Okay? And as I scroll, because I chose other account numbers, notice why this can be a very long account. Think of how many, every ledger entry you do, more than most entries you do, have at least one asset in it, right? Unless it's a transfer or something. So you just scroll till you get to your next one. We had a lot going on here. And then we have like the other asset I chose. Here's the fund number. Here's any time in the system that the fund number was chosen, not the income or expense account that's attached to it, but the actual number was used. And so on with expense reports or expense numbers and everything. And it gives you then your totals, your grand total. You have a total for each account number as well. So it's a great, very detailed report. Like we talked yesterday, if you're looking for a needle in a haystack, here you go. As in every report, when you click on this report button here on the left, you have some different options. And in this case, we can tell it I want it detailed or composite. How do I want it to sort? Do I want it to page by fund? And so on. Do I want this green and white stripes? So you're just some different options, formats where I can change the font, if I want the font, if I want this date and timestamp here at the bottom, that's like showing right here, and who printed it. Again, right now, who printed it? My administrator. Highly encouraged to not use administrator unless you need to. It's always best to have your name, and everybody logs into their own name so that you just know who did what. Not because you don't trust each other, it just helps, right? Hey, you know what? Jen printed this. Let me go ask her, how did she get this? Because I saw that Jen printed it down at the bottom. It's another great way to do that, and that's across the board again. If I don't want my search description to show up, say I'm printing a report that has like a lot of searches, you know how at the top you can see all of the searches? You can uncheck that, and that description will go away. Page setup, landscape, portrait, size, and again, every report window, so no matter what area of the program you work in, this is here. Logo, we're not going to do it. We did it yesterday, Tuesday. You can do the logo in here. You can do it. If you see it in there, it's available. If it's not over there and you would love to have the logo available, just let us know. I know it used to only be on the contribution statements report, and it keeps getting added to others. They're always continuing to upgrade and enhance the system as we can, okay? And then, of course, if you're going to do text, you can do advanced and do how many characters per inch. I mean, you can have fun with this. If this is fun to you, have at it. The other accounting report I want to talk about is ledger to budget, because we talked about the budget yesterday, but we did not go over what that looks like in some reports. So the ledger to budget personally is one of my favorite. It is the one I go to for the end of the year when I'm giving it to the state council, or not the state council, to my church council. I like this for them. Like I said, at the end of the year, you can do a budget worksheet. It just has your budget and then the lines where they can mark. I like this because they can see what they've done in the year and then compare it to the prior year's budget. So right now I have it set for January to September. Let's go ahead and change this to October. When you click on the report button, notice this is different than the other window that we were in. You have some more options. Again, you have detail and composite, but I have the option to change the budget year. Have you guys ever who's used this report or any that has the budget, printed it next year and it's like, how did I change that budget again, that budget year? Just go on the report. And again, if you look at these buttons at every time you print the report, go ahead and click report and format just to make sure you have everything. You'll see this. So for the sake of showing you what we did yesterday, we're going to go ahead and go to 22 because I know it's got a lot of good data. I can also do show over and under. I'll click that to show you what that does. It's going to let you know if in that it's not for the budget. There's a column for that you'll see in a second. But show over and under kind of just gives you that great calculation at the time. Name and number has your account number. There's just a lot you can choose from. And again, check format. And I'm showing you this because you're going to see another report in a minute that if I didn't click format, I'd miss a ton of different options. All right, so let's print this one to the screen. Oh, if I click screen. So this ledger to budget report gives you the total amount. This is actual amount that was spent. This is what was budgeted for the entire year. And the difference, and then what the percentage of budget has been used compared to that, okay? It's just a great, nice, clean report. And again, the reason I do use it is it helps them see, okay, did we overdo our budget or did we, underdo it and I still have some money to spend and I don't want them to not budget me next year, so I want to make sure I go spend it somewhere, so we'll go buy whatever. But it gives them that great view right there. So then when your council or whoever does, they can look and they can see how they did for the year. And then you can make adjustments as needed as they tell you. Okay. Any questions on this one? Or the other one? There are a few different comparison reports. You can do monthly, quarterly, or range. The monthly comparison report has some different options. You could choose which month you want. We'll stick with this. Fiscal year beginning here, it takes the first date of your system and then it adds 12 months after that. So if you've changed fiscal years mid, which I doubt you guys would have, it's not, if you didn't open it up and change that first date in the system, it's going to continue to say January, not September. So we're going to say January. And again, detail, and oh, wait, I didn't want that budget. I wanted this budget. Look at the difference in the format tab for this one. You have so many options on what of the budget type of things do you want to have on here. The annual, monthly for just the month of January, and if you remember, we were talking yesterday when I showed you the budget. Remember how you can click that magnifying glass on there and it shows you all 12 months and how it evenly breaks it down? And how at camp, they don't use that budget every month. They only use it within on so many months. So you can allot them that month. Well, if I have them with no money to be used in January that I'm getting ready to print, then it's going to show that they don't have any money budgeted for the month of January because I went in and I zeroed that out. If I leave it at even, then it brings it to even. So you have even year-to-date budget, year-to-date actual. You can show prior year stuff. You can do it as percentage, amount. This is where we're not going to totally play with it, but this is where have fun with it. Select them all. See what they do. See what they look like. And when you do it, this is what these options look like. Let me zoom in here for you. Let me lower my date so it actually has I know we got stuff in October. Okay. So you have October budget, October actual, what the year-to-date was, and the year-to-date actual. Okay? And if you scroll, senior minister salary had $115 that month budgeted, but they budgeted $24,000 for it. But then you have your actual of what was actually, I'm sorry, I backed up. They actually spent $115. I always reverse those in my head. But they didn't have anything budgeted, because remember yesterday, we used that particular account number to zero out all but June. So if I was to print, I believe it was June, then you would see whatever budgeted amount that we have. Does that make sense on how and why it's important and helpful to zero them out if they're not going to use it and just kind of throw that into June? It's just helpful to do it that way. And then you have your total income. This is the budgeted, what came in the year, and then you got the year-to-date actual. Then you got, if you go down here, remember we did our categories, our subcategories, and then these are the account numbers. And then this is the total for that category. This is why categories are great. It's not the fund. I don't have a property fund, but I have a property category. And so I can break that down and so on. Okay? Over, under, it takes these actuals and it does the whole subtraction. And did we spend it too much or too little or what have you? But notice if I was to change this and I wanted to add, let's just add a couple more. Now it's even longer. Now I have budget versus actual, and so on. So this is where, when I say play with the report, what's going to work best for your committee, for your council? What do they, somebody told me yesterday, I printed all this detail for them, and they were like, this is too much. This is way too much information. I need a lot less. Well, this is one thing too. Is this too many columns? I can tell you for our finance committee, yep. They're like, it blends together for them. So I choose the columns that work for them. So it looks good there. So print it some different ways. Show your overseer. Say, hey, do you like this? What do you think? And let them kind of decide. But it gives you some great options. Even having that prior year in there is nice. One thing I love about CDM across the board, no matter what you're doing, I love that it has its basic flow. It has its basic structure. If you haven't seen that over the last 2 days, when you go back and you watch the videos, because right now you're like, learn, you'll see there's this flow of connections, the flow, the way things kind of go. But it has that, and you can go exactly the way we said, but you can also personalize it. And that's nice. I like that. They've given us options. They didn't just assume we only wanted these things. They gave us a bunch of different, that we only wanted amounts. They gave us the option to do percentage too. And I like that ability, and that's with other things, with membership and all of that. The quarterly comparison takes it by the quarter. So you can choose your first, second, third, fourth quarter, the beginning, and it's very similar. It's just instead of it being a month, it's giving you the quarter. Okay. We went over the balance sheet yesterday, but I wanted to show you what the account balance report looks like. On here, you have your beginning balance, and then right now, January 12th of 24 is the very last date something was put in this system. I can add dates. In fact, let me just reset these. So I can add dates between any of these things if I wanted to. And when you click it, it says, well, add any kind of date between January 1 and January 12th of 24. So, okay, well, we're going to do today's what, the 19th, so 18. So now I've added October 18th. I want to see what's been going on. Let's add another date. Let's do from September 1 to October 18th, okay? All accounts. I can do detail. We're going to start with balance sheet so I can show you. These do look a little different. But because I've changed in here, I can see that I have some different options. And then you check your format. So if you click the screen here, this is the balance sheet. So with the balance sheet, it's going to give you your assets, just like a regular balance sheet, all your liabilities. But what's different about this that I like is you have your January where you started, because I chose beginning balance, and I was just going to go with it, but nope, I can't do it. I got to landscape it. Okay. So it shows your beginning balance, but remember, I chose a couple of dates in there. So this is where we started, because remember my beginning balance date is January of 21. September and then October are the two other dates that I have. But what this does is it gives you what's been used. So between January and September, here are the total debits and total credits. And between September 1 and October, this is what was done. And these are the total ends. You can add as many dates as you want. At that point, you probably should pop it into Excel, because you would have to get a super long, 11 by 17 or something and print it. Excel might be a little bit better for you. But what if I wanted to select composite? Well, composite, I can still choose debits and credits. I'm leaving this. The net change just gives you, here's the total amount that changed. Well, I'll show you. So when I click this, I still have my dates selected. I've not changed anything as far as that goes. I only changed my layout. Now I have January 1, September 1, but I have a just difference. I don't have the debit and credit column anymore. This is just giving me what the net amount is of changes. But this report, with it being a composite, it lists all of the accounts like this. So here are my assets. These were my liabilities, my funds, and we know those. If you remember from yesterday, I can tell because 3000s, I followed this structure. You don't have to, like we said. If yours looks a little different, that's okay. But because of this structure, I knew instantly my 1000s were assets, 2000 liability, 3000 funds. And then remember we talked about 3000.4000? This is my income number, and it's attached to this fund. And it gives me what's gone on for all that goes right on through all the way to the expense numbers. I'm going to leave for debits and credits. If we go detail, you also now have the option of running balance. If you ever had them ask you, I'd like to have like a running balance, like a check registry, to see this is what you would use for that. And you can sort by transaction date. I would keep it that way, personally, but you can change that. Obviously, detail, it's going to be a lot. It's not, 2 years trial balance, 2 reams of paper worth of a lot, but it's still a lot. Actually, it is quite a bit. All right, so detail, I did it by transaction date. I got to remove a date because I definitely don't have enough space. It's going to, because I have the running balance checked, it gives me the running balance for October as I went. That's why you have it for by transaction date, because, right? How will I know what my bank has through it? Now, I don't need the running balance, but I still want it detailed. We'll uncheck that, and then you can change to sort it by reference number, check number. Does that make sense? And transaction date. And it just removes that column for you. So the account balance report is great. It just looks different depending on what option you choose under that report button. Which one is best? There isn't a best one, worst one. It's what works best for you and what works best for the current overseer or the current counsel that you have.